Welcome to smiklearn. In the last class, we have seen the different types of instances like capacity reservation, dedicated instances, spot reservation, right? So now I'll show you the missed one is the spot instances. I'll show the screen of the spot instances, right? So in the spot request, you have to make a request to the AWS team. A high level summary of your saving across your running recently terminated spot instances. So you can create spot instances request. So I'll make a request spot instances. It says manually configured launch parameters, use a launch template. You can create a template and then you can use the launch template, or otherwise you can manually configure the launch parameters. And then you have to say which type of AMI you want, Amazon Linux or the Ubuntu Linux, which Linux you want, you have to choose. You can see here different types of Linux. Amazon Linux is there. And then we have the deep learning. Then we have the Ubuntu. You can choose Ubuntu 24 with the HVM SQL server. We don't need SQL server and all. We'll use 2022 SSD volume AMI. Okay, Ubuntu server 22 volume AMI. Then what is the key pair name? If you have already key pair, you can choose the existing key pair. Otherwise, you can create a new key pair like this. If you want to add additional launch parameters, you can add additional launch parameters like extra EBS volume. If you want, you can add it. You can launch the EBS optimized instances if you want. Otherwise, you can leave this blank. Then we have the monitoring. We can enable the CloudWatch detailed monitoring if you want for the spot instances. Then we have the tenancy. It is a default or a dedicated tenancy. The default one means it's a shared instance. Dedicated means they will create a separate instance for us. Then we can choose the security groups. Which security group we can choose default security group. Then we have the auto assign IP4. It's an enabled one. And then we have the IAM instance profile. If you have already created a new profile, you can create a new profile, or otherwise you can use optional. Okay. And then user data is as text. And then you can create a tag here. Then we have the target capacity, how many instances you want. You can specify 5 instances or 6 instances, how many instances you want, you can specify. And then what type of network you are going to use, you have to specify. And then we have the availability zone also. You can choose which zone you want. And then we have the instance type requirements. Just manually select the instance type, or you can choose the specify instance attributes if you want. I'll say manually select. So I'm using the instance type for the 8 GB RAM, 8 CPU, 16 GB RAM. Okay, 2 extra large. So this is actually for the testing purpose. So I'm just choosing it. And then we have the price capacity optimized, diversified across all pools. So I'll choose price capacity optimized recommended. Then we have to say launch. If you start launching, they'll create a spot instances for you. As we mentioned all these things, whatever we have mentioned here, no, they'll create a spot instances for that. These spot instances will be more costlier than the normal on-demand instances or reserved instances. Okay, so this spot instances is more costlier. They will be allowing us to create the instances. Next, we'll come to the next one. That is called AMI, Amazon Machine Images. Actually, Amazon Machine Images is nothing but we can create AMI images using the instances. That is actually, it is like a backup of the instances. That instances we can create a image. That images we can use it for creating other instances. Suppose a company is asking for the images for the 10 instances with what we created now, that instances. For example, I have created one instances. I have installed all the software what they are asking, like Java software, and then we have MySQL, everything I have installed in the instances. That instance is ready one now. Okay. Now they are asking, the company is asking to create 10 more instances like the same one which we created. Okay. So then we have to create an AMI that is called as Amazon Machine Images. Based on that AMI, we can create any number of instances. I'll show you how to create AMI. I'll go to this instances. You can see any instances running. You can see, you can take these instances and then we can create a AMI for that. Go to click on AMI and then we have created one AMI. Again we'll create a new AMI. I'll show you how to create a AMI. So easy to image builder. Okay, I still think this will create a new image. I'll show you how to launch a new AMI. A best thing is go to instance. Okay, select this particular instance, then launch instance. Okay, actions, images, create images. This will be the best method. If you go to AMI, I don't see we have created the instances from AMI. So this is actually, we can't register the stored AMI. We have the EC to image builder also. The best method for creating a AMI is you can choose the instances, select for the action, then say images, then say create images. So you can create the image name here, what type of images you want. My new image as a sample name, any name you can give, and then image description if you want you can give, it's an optional one. If you want to reboot the instances, it will automatically reboot. If you don't want to reboot the instances, you can remove this. Okay, for creating the AMI images, automatically this will be reboot the instances. And then we have the EBS volume. If you want to add more volumes, you can add more volume. That is a 30 GB size. Okay, now I am creating the images. So this will take an image, it will create an image. You can see here, I will show that. It will start creating a new image. This is my new image. It has been start creating it. Okay, it shows trending. Still it is creating that images. After creating these images, you can launch the instances. Click on this, say launch instances for AMI. Okay, if you say launch instance from AMI, it will start creating the instances based on the AMI. So my new instance, and then we have chosen the AMI, that is the AMI from catalog. So this will be choosing that AMI. This is the AMI ID and this is the published one. Okay, and then you can choose the instance type you want, which instances to be deployed. You can choose the T2 macro. This is the default instance I am showing it, and then you can select the key pair. If you created already a key pair, you can create that. Otherwise you can create a new key pair, as I said. And then you can see the network settings. So this is the default one. We have the VPC default, and then the subnet will be assigned here automatically. And then we can select the security groups. You have to choose the security groups here. Okay, and then the storage, 30 GB storage you have to say. If you want to add more volumes, you can add the more volumes, and then you can say launch instance. So this will create an instance for that particular AMI images. So what all you have installed, what all you have set up now, what all you have created, that copy will be created based on that AMI. So that will create a new instances, what all you have set up. So after launching these instances, if you go and see that, you can see what all you have inserted in the previous instance that will be seen here. Okay, so you can see the I said MySQL, everything will be installed, right? So the same thing will be set up. You don't need to create, no need to install another things. So this will be having the same copy of that previous instances, this AMI. Okay, so this is how we can create a AMI images, that is called as AMI. Then we'll move on to the next one. So images can be created to take a copy of the instances. Many instances can be created using the AMI. Okay, next we'll move on to elastic block storage. So in EC2 we have different types of storages. So in this we have the elastic block storage. This is mainly for creating the volumes, and then for storing the data and all we can use the EC2 block storage. So this block storage is nothing but it is the hard disk storage, like 30 GB we have seen now, creating a different volumes and all. That is the EBS storage. I will show you how to create a elastic block storage. You can go to the elastic block store and you can create the volumes if you want. So we have already we have created one volume while creating that instance. If you want, we can create more instance also. So you can say create volume, and then you can choose which volume, general purpose SSD, then you can choose the volume, and then how many size you want. You can say 30 GB volume, and then which zone you want, you can choose a zone. If you want, you can use the snapshot ID. Already we have created a snapshot, no? That snapshot ID we can choose it. Otherwise, if you don't create any volume from the snapshot, we can say like this. Then we can create a volume. So it will add a new volume to that. So a new volume will be added here as a 30 GB volume. You can use that volume for that particular instances. So that instances will have two volumes. One is 30 GB, one primary volume, 30 GB one the secondary volume. You can have two volumes like C drive, D drive, we can have like that. In Linux we can create two volumes, C drive, D drive, no, like that we can create two volumes like this. So that is the usage of elastic block storage. Then we have the snapshot. A snapshot is nothing but we can create the volumes as a backup. So this is called as hard disk, right? So for that hard disk we can create a backup. So that backup we can create as a snapshot in the EC2. Snapshot is nothing but it is a backup of the hard disk. So what all data you have in that hard disk, no, that data will be backed up as a new volume. We can create the snapshot based on that volume. So we can create a volume based on this snapshot, right? So we can create a snapshot here. I will show you how to create a snapshot. Go to create snapshot. Then you can create a volume for the snapshot or for the instances. We will say which volume we want. We can create that volume. Okay, we can give the description here if you want. This is the new snapshot description I am giving it, and then we have the tags. Then say create snapshot. If you say create snapshot, that snapshot will be created here. So we will get a snapshot ID and then volume size and then description and then standard completed like this. This is the snapshot shortest. After creating the snapshot, you can create a volume based on that snapshot. So this will have the backup of that particular volume. Then you can create an action, then create a volume from the snapshot. You can say like this. So this will create a new volume. So you can see here, create a volume. So like this also you can create a volume. So this will be a backup of that particular instances. Okay. So this is how elastic block storage works. Then we have the lifecycle manager. This is nothing but this is defining the custom new policy for the elastic block storages. In this session we are not going to learn more about this data lifecycle manager. Okay. So this is for maintaining the automatic creation, retention, copy and deletion of snapshots and EMIs. For that purpose only they are using this lifecycle manager. But in this session we are not going to see this. This is an advanced concept, will be seen in the next sessions. Okay. I will see in the upcoming sessions. So this is the volumes and snapshot you have seen. We have seen EMI images, and then we have seen elastic block storages, volume snapshot. Then EMI catalog is nothing but we can create catalogs like this. So they have the different catalogs for the different EMIs. For the Amazon instances, they will have the particular catalogs. You will get the image ID also for that. You can see the image IDs here. So this image ID we can use it. So like this we can see different catalogs of the different OS. Okay, Ubuntu. For different OS we can create the EMI. That is the EMI catalog. Okay, that is nothing much about EMI catalog. Okay, so this is how the EMI and block storage works. Then we'll move on to next one, that is called as security groups. A security group is nothing but this is actually the firewall. As I said, no, a firewall will be allowing the IP address, it will be allowing the port number, it will be blocking the IP address, it will be blocking the port number. That is the purpose of firewall. And then we can do IP forwarding from one IP to another IP. And then another process is IP port forwarding. Port forwarding means when you enter into the one port, it will be forwarding to the another port. That is the options of the firewall. So this is a process of the firewall which will be used in the in local machine. Also we have the firewalls. So that firewalls will be allowing the IP addresses to access our machine. It will be allowing the port numbers where we can see the website and all, right? So that firewall is same as in local machine what we have. No, that firewall can be configured in the AWS also. I will show you how to create a security firewall. Go to the security groups, and then you have to create a security group here. Create a security group. So this will create a new security group. You can create a security group name here, my new security group. You can create a new security group here, and then allow SSH access to developers. So what description you want, you can give like this: allow all access to developers. Like this we can give the description. Then we have to choose the VPC, which VPC you want. We can choose VPC default, and then we can add the inbound rules here. So what all the inbound we can add it here. We can say SSH 22 should be allowed for the all IP addresses. This is IPv4 addresses. And second thing, you can add SSH for the all IPv6 addresses. This is for IPv4. 00 is for IPv4. Colon is for IPv6. Like this, you have to add the inbound rules. Which this inbound rules will allow these port numbers to be accessed. So we have to allow the port numbers to be used in our firewall. The same way, you can access the HTTPS. We can add the HTTPS for the IPv4, and then we can add the HTTP for the all IPv4 address. Like this we can add the rules. Outbound rules will be the default one, so we don't want to add anything here, outbound rules. And then we can create the security group. So we can create the security group here. So the security group will be created here. So we can use the security group for that particular VPC. So this VPC will be having this particular security group. Okay. So like this we can create a security group which is nothing but is a firewall for the EC2 instances, okay, for that particular VPC. So this is how the security groups work. This is the firewall for instances. It has inbound and outbound also. I'll show you, right? Next we'll move on to load balancer. What is load balancer? We have to see. Okay, in this diagram you can see the load balancer here. So this is the user will be accessing the internet. So this internet will be connected to the external load balancer. The load balancer will be handling the different web servers. So what load balancer will do when there is a high internet usage or more traffic which comes to the web browser? If there are nearly million users coming at a time through the web server, at that time this load balancer will balancing the number of requests. So if the 1 million requests is coming through the internet, this load balancer will handle 10,000 for one web server, another 10,000 for another web server, another 10,000 for another. So like that we can share the balancing. We can balance the number of requests. Okay, that is called as load balancer. So the load balancer will balance the number of requests to the different web servers, and then the web server will be returning the responses. These responses will be again returned to the users. This is actually called as load balancer. Okay, like this we can create a load balancer in AWS also. I will show you how to create a load balancer. So this is how the load balancer works. The load balancer is nothing but balancing the number of requests, balancing the number of traffics. If there are more number of traffics coming inside the web server, this load balancer will balancing the number of requests and number of traffics. So it will be sharing to different web server and handling the request without any failure. Okay, so there will be no failure because of the load balancer. I will show you how to create a load balancer. We can go to the EC2 instances. You can see here load balancers. We can create a load balancers here. Already we have created one load balancer. Each load balancer will have a target groups. A target group is nothing but each target group will be pointing to the number of instances. I shown this web server is one instances, this web server is another instances, this web server is another instance. We have 3 instances, right? Each 3 instances can be connected to the load balancer. So these instances will be creating as a target group. This is target group, this is also one target group. We can create the 3 target group here. Each target group will have HTTP and HTTPS access. Okay, so we'll see how to create a load balancer here. You go to the load balancer, you can say create load balancer. In the load balancer, we can see 3 types of load balancer here: application load balancer, network load balancer, gateway load balancer. Application load balancer is nothing but it will handle HTTP and HTTP traffic. So only it can handle HTTP and HTTPS traffics. Okay, other TCP and all other SMTP protocols and all it will not be handling. It will be handling only HTTP and HTTP traffics. So it is called as application load balancer. Choosing application load balancer when you need a flexible feature set of your application with HTTP and HTTP traffic operating at a high request level. Application load balancer provide advanced routing and visibility features, target applications architecture including microservices and containers. Okay, this will be handling only HTTP and HTTP requests. So this is the application load balancer. We have the network load balancer. This will handle all the TCP/IP, all the TCP, including SMTP protocols, SSH protocols, HTTP, HTTPS, all the protocols. This is, we can call it as a multiple ELB. Multiple ELB can be used in the network load balancer. You can see here, one ELB is using TCP/IP, another ELB is using TLSs, and then we have the UDP which handle both the TCP and TLSs. So we have the two VPC. This is one VPC and this is another VPC. Like this, to handle multiple VPC, we use network load balancer. Network load balancer is for handling 2 or more VPC. Each VPC will have ALB, that is application load balancer. This VPC will have one application load balancer and this VPC will have another application load balancer. So that is the multiple application load balancer can be handled using network load balancer. So network load balancer is for managing 2 or more VPC. And then we have the gateway load balancer. Mostly we will not be using this gateway load balancer because this is a different concept. Okay, so you can see what is network load balancer here. When you need an ultra high performance TLS officiating at the scale, centralized certificate, deployment, support of UDP and static IP address for your application, operating at the connection level, network load balancer capable of handling millions of requests per second securely while maintaining ultra low latencies. Okay, latencies means the slow network, that is called as latency. And then we have the gateway load balancer. A gateway load balancer, when you need to deploy and manage a fleet of third-party virtual appliances that support Genev. These appliances enable you to improve security and compliances policy control. So this is actually a third-party controllers. We can manage it using the gateway load balancer. Okay, using the third-party things, third-party equipments and all, we can handle through the gateway load balancer. That is the usage of load balancer. So mainly we will be using only the application load balancer. Most probably we are not going to use the NLB or the gateway load balancer. Okay, the network load balancer will be using it when we are using network gateway. I will show you how to create a network gateway and all. And then we have the classic load balancer. This is the old one, we are not going to use hereafter. This is a classic load balancer which is used previously. Okay, we will create an application load balancer here. So it will ask for the load balancer name. I will give my load balancer. Okay, and then it should be internet facing, not for internal load balancer. This is for internet facing. There are 2 types we can use. One is internet facing and the second thing is internal. Internal means in the internal load balancer. Most probably we are not going to use as an internal load balancer between the subnets. So each subnet, we have the private subnet, public subnet, like that. This is for the internal subnet. Okay, we will be using the internet facing only. and then we have the load balancer IP address for the IPv4. Dual stack means IPv4 plus IPv6. IPv4 means one stack. Dual stack means IPv4 and IPv6. Dual stack without public IPv4 means this is only for IPv6. And then we have the network mapping. We have to create a network mapping here. So which instance you want, we can choose the instances here. Actually this is VPC actually. Which VPC you want, we can choose that VPC. And then which region you want, you have to select that region. Before selecting the region, you have to check in which region that instance is running. If the instance is running in 1B, then you have to choose the availability zone as 1B. If the instance is running in 1D, you have to choose the instances as 1D, right? Okay. So like that you have to choose which instances, which zone the instance is using. Based on that you have to choose the zones. And then we have to choose the security group here. The default security group is selected here. And then we have to create a listeners here. One is 80 listeners, and then we have to create a target group here. So before creating this load balancer, we have to create a target group. We'll come to the target group. We will create a target group, and then we'll go back. So I will show you how to create a target group. Then say create target group. I said no, target group is nothing but this is pointing to one web server, that is one instance. So you can say which instances you want. You can use IP addresses and lambda function and application load balancer. Yeah, target group can point to application load balancer also. Now I am showing using instances. And then I am using the target name, my target 1. I am creating a target group name, and then it should be HTTP protocol and using IPv4, and then which IP VPC 1 we have to VPC. Protocol version is HTTP 1 only, not HTTP 2 or gRPC. We have to use only HTTP 1. And then health checkup is HTTP. And then we have to create a new target group. Then which instance you want, you have to use that instances. So these instances will be added to that particular target group. And then you have to say which port you have to listen. So this is port number 80, and then we have to include as pending below. This will be added here. And then say create target group. So this will be creating the target group here. Okay. So target group will be created, and then we'll come to the load balancer. We'll create a load balancer here. Create a load balancer, and then say application load balancer, and then you have to see the basic configuration name, load my LB instance. It can be any name. Okay. My LB instance 1, and then it should be internet facing IPv4 VPC AP South 1. We have to choose 2 here, and then you have to choose the security group, default security group, and then port number HTTP 80. You can select the security group, target group here. So now this listener, this load balancer will be pointing to this target group. Okay, and then we can add the web application firewall if you want. Later on we will see what is the use of this web application firewall. This is also one of the additional firewall like security groups. This will add additional security group like additional firewall here. Already we have a security group that itself is a firewall, but this is web application firewall. This is also one of the security group or the firewall we can say. And then we have the global accelerator. Later on we will see what is the usage of this global accelerator, and then we have to create the load balancer. So if we create the load balancer, this load balancer will be created like this. Okay. So this load balancer we can use it for pointing to the instances. Okay. Now this load balancer will be having one instance now. If we have 2 or more instances, we should create a different target groups. That target groups should be added to this load balancer. I will show you how to create a different target groups. You can go to here. You can say listener and add rules. You can add it here. How many listener you want, you can add it here. So that is actually called as target group. You can add 2 or more target groups here. See, a load balancer will have multiple target group, and each target group will have each instances, right? If you have 2 or more instances, we can add that instances to this target group pointing to the target group, and that target group will be can be added to this load balancer. Okay, that load balancer we can use it for pointing to the DNS. Later on we will see how to point this load balancer to the DNS in next class. Okay, thank you for this session.